to the NXT Podcast, your home for weekly NXT reviews and insight.
The beautiful part of NXT is that when one dream ends, another dream begins.
Find all of your NXT news, recaps, and analysis right here. So with that being said, we only have one question for you.
Are you ready?
We thought so. Let's get the show started right now.
Hey everybody, it's Jay. Welcome to your NXT review for the episode airing on January 28th. It was from the Center Stage in Atlanta, Georgia. And I find that every time they do a show outside of the Performance Center, it's just a little bit better than when they do the show in the Performance Center. And this one was no different. It was a pretty good show, I have to say. It was a very, very good show. Just for a weekly episode. They're moving forward towards Vengeance Day, which is on February 15th, which we will be doing a review for on the day after. So, celebrate Valentine's Day with NXT and me. Well, Valentine's weekend, I guess. Probably best to just spend it mostly with your Valentine or Galentine, I guess, because they have that thing where, women that don't have a date get together. I don't know. I saw it in a store the other day, so I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. So spend it with me doing the NXT review on the Sunday after. But Vengeance Day, we're moving forward. Vengeance Day is coming about, and this episode had a lot of setting up for Vengeance Day, which I'm going to get into as the show goes on. So again, we were from Atlanta, Georgia. I love the outside of the Performance Center, the small arenas. So and I mentioned this, I think, when the last time they were in a small arena, which may have been on New Year's Evil, I believe, and on the first week of January. It doesn't seem like they have that hard cam, the alpha camera, that they do a lot of. They don't do a lot of the direct range shots. So that's what the alpha cam, the hard cam is. And it works. It absolutely works. I mean, the thing is, you have to realize is if they do put a camera there, that's a whole section that they're not going to be able to sell. And so if you've ever been to a live show, like in an arena for Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, they have a whole section just blocked off for the camera so that, they can have that hard cam, the one that faces right towards the ring. And it makes sense why they wouldn't do it for the smaller venues for NXT, because then that's a whole lot less seats that they would have to sell. So it makes sense. Definitely makes sense. So the first match we have, by the way, commentators, again, Vic Joseph, Booker T, and Corey Graves. And again, Corey Graves comes back for the second week in a row. He seems more into things now. Like, I remember he was at New Year's Evil, and he just didn't seem like his heart was in it. Then there was a week that he had off. Then he came back again last week, and now he's back again this week. And he definitely seems more into it. Like, somebody said something to him, or he finally realized, you know what, I got to do my job, I got to do it the right way. So, and Corey Graves, listen, I would put Corey Graves in front of Booker T any day of the week, so I have no problem with that at all. Ring announcer is Mike Rome, and our first match is Bayley and Julia versus Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. This was a great match. All four of these gals are amazing wrestlers. I mean, obviously Bayley's Bayley. She's two-time Grand Slam champion, former NXT everything, and she basically has done it all. I know in the last year she's kind of gotten a bad rap from, obviously she won the Royal Rumble last year, and then had a great match, like probably one of the best female women's matches against Io Sky of 2024, and then all of a sudden, Bayley who? Like, it was just, for the entire time she was champion between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, you barely heard anything from her. She's starting to pick up a little bit more. Now she's on Raw again, and I feel like she's picking up momentum now, being on NXT as well, to the point now, well, we'll talk about this later, but she's part of the women's title match at Vengeance Day, which we're going to talk about later. So this was a good match. The tag team match between Julia and Bayley versus Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. Great match. A little bit of dissension between Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, and actually played out more later on as well. Just at the end of the match, Julia had a running knee strike for a 2 count. Bayley started brawling with Perez, and Perez dumped Bayley out of the ring. Bayley throws Perez into a steel barricade. And by the way, these barricades that they had at these small venues are the old school barricades, like the old metal ones they had in the 80s and 90s, but they're covered with a stretchy thing that says WWE on it. So when you run into these things, it's not like running into those big padded things at the Performance Center or at the Raw and SmackDown shows. I mean, these things are metal, and you're running into metal. Anyway, Bayley then starts to brawl Perez. Perez dumps Bayley out of the ring, throws her into the steel barricade. Julia blocks the double underhook DDT and headbutts Jade. Julia then tags Bayley in, and Bayley connects with the flying elbow drop. So, like, and by the way, I believe, so Bayley does the flying elbow drop as an homage to Shawn Michaels, because Shawn Michaels, that was one of his big moves that he did at the end of the matches. So I'm sure that she wanted to win with the elbow drop as an homage to Shawn Michaels. So, but she did end up picking up the victory. So Bayley and Julia win via pinfall. Great match. It was a great match. And I like how they started with it, like right out the gate. Like, this is what we're showing you tonight. Here it is. Cool. Then we have a promo for Eddie Thorpe. Okay. I really could do without Eddie Thorpe. I think I've said this before. He's not interesting. Like, even when he was pulling the shenanigans to get himself into a title shot, the whole thing wasn't interesting. And then so again, I know I'm saying the same things over again that I have week to week, and if you're listening, and believe me, if you're listening and you're listening to me every week say the similar things, I'm actually appreciative that you know that. But Obafemi wins the Iron Survivor. He has a right to challenge Trick Williams. It should have been a one-on-one match. Eddie throws himself in there. I have a huge issue with that. But then Eddie wasn't even in the match most of the match. And he was not even a part of the decision of the match. So what's the point? Anyway, so we did a promo on Eddie Thorpe, and he talks about his people and this. I mean, it's not interesting. Like, listen, he's Native American. The atrocities that they suffered, horrible. I get that. But you know what? He's not a likable person, and it's just annoying. He's just annoying. And it's not even like he's a good heel about it. Like, Ethan Page is the quintessential heel. The quintessential heel. Eddie Thorpe was just an annoying heel. That happened. So, moving on. Then we have the Grayson Waller effect, which their guest was Obafemi. And Grayson Waller and Austin Theory kind of hosted it together, which, if you don't know, if you don't, then you're not paying attention. Austin Theory is from Atlanta. The whole A-Town down is Atlanta A-Town. And so he actually got a huge pop. And like, I actually really appreciate the fans seeing a lot, because obviously the night before you had Xavier Woods and everybody was booing him, even though he's from Atlanta. And so when Austin Theory came out, I was hoping they weren't going to boo him, and they didn't. They actually cheered him, and there was actually one funny exchange while they were talking, and the fans were cheering, turn on Grayson. And so he goes, "Oh, you ready?" And then he turns his back. and Grayson Waller goes, "Hey, don't you turn your back on me," in like a joking way. It was a fun thing. It was basically, obviously we've all been waiting patiently. And at this point, we don't even care anymore, essentially. If you listen to Matt, he'll say the same thing. They teased a breakup, and then they didn't break up, and now they're cool again. And it is what it is. So anyway, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory are kind of introducing Obafemi and having like this blue playful banter. This was actually pretty fun. And then then Obafemi comes out and he starts to say the NXT Championship is exactly where it needs to be. And Austin Theory says, so then he says, so you invited me here to your show to tell me that you don't see my potential? That's very funny because I've never seen either of you as NXT champion. And I was right because neither of you have ever been an NXT champion. I think it's safe to say that in 2 years I've accomplished more than the both of you did in NXT combined. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, Obafemi, he's just kind of getting a little less screen before he goes to the main roster at this point. Grayson Waller says, "Hey, don't get it twisted. I understand that you've done here, you've done a lot of things in NXT, but you're only here tonight because I want to see it for myself." This is Grayson Waller saying this. I want you to know the hype. I want to know if the hype was real because there's levels of this game, and yeah, you're NXT champion, but WrestleMania 40, A-Town Down Under, we're standing on top of a ladder WWE Tag Team Champions. While you were in the suites with your little NXT jacket on, sipping a juice box, hoping, wishing, praying, and one day you can do what we're doing. So, these guys are really funny. So Oba says, you guys have all this talk about being champions, climbing the ladder at WrestleMania, but after everything is said and done, I don't see no titles. And that's your problem. That's exactly what both of you are where you are right now because of your big mouths. Your lips, especially you, Waller, your lips keep trying to write checks that your hands can't cash. You think I got where I am by running my mouth? I'm a budding dynasty here, I'm building a dynasty here, brick by brick. Trust me, it will be built. And you know what? You like moments, you like PLEs, you like title opportunities. Here's one for you. 2 weeks, Washington, D.C., February 15th, Vengeance Day. Now the question is, which one of you will step up? And so there's this ongoing back and forth between Ava and Obafemi about how Oba keeps trying to make title matches. Oba keeps trying to make title matches. Then she says, Oba, that's my job. I'm the general manager. I make the title matches. And then she ends up making the title match that he suggests. It kind of happened this time too, but we'll talk about it in a second. So she says, so Ava comes out and says, let's dial it back before things get too out of hand. I just want to come out to remind you once again that as much as you would love to, you don't make matches around here. I do. And then Trick Williams comes out. And he says, that title is mine and you know it. And then Trick wipes out A-Town Down Under. And then Oba drops him with a fall from grace. Now, the reason why this is a big deal is because right after the Grayson Waller effect, he's supposed to have a match with Wes Lee. We're going to talk about that in a second. Then we go to commercial, and then when we come back, Sarah Schreiber is talking to Izzy Dame and asks her, this is out. They actually didn't do this backstage. They did this at what they would call at Saturday Night's Main Event, the Gene Okerlund area of the kind of like on the stage but off to the side. So that was kind of interesting. So anyway, Sarah Schreiber is asking Izzy Dame, hey, what's truly going on with relationship with the family and Tony D'Angelo? And she says everybody wants to know what's going on between Izzy and Tony, but there's nothing going on. They're not even friends, but they share a common enemy in Sean Spears. Long story short, Tony came to her aid when Spears was stalking her, so she returned the favor by helping him retain the North American Championship, and then Ridge Holland comes in, calls Izzy a liar, and Ridge is about to call her a B word. Again, PG show, so I'm not going to say the word. Before Stax comes out and asks if Ridge has a problem. Ridge doesn't want to talk to Tony D's lackey, and tells Stax to get out of his face. Then we go to the second match. So now the second match is Trick Williams versus Wes Lee. And often is done, and this drives me insane. How many times do we go into a match where the babyface, Trick Williams, is at an immediate disadvantage? And I'm not talking about Trick. I'm talking about so many matches that we have where this person's got a bum knee or a bum back or blah, blah, blah. And so they come out in this stage of, I'm already hurt, and now I have a match. Whether it happened right before the match or whether it happened, previously, and they have tape. That tape. Oh my God! It's like, look at me. I have a back injury. I have tape on my back or shoulder or whatever. So this is another example. And then what happens is, if the babyface wins, it's, yay, they beat the odds against because they were injured and they still won. Or if they lose, it's, well, the reason why they lost is because they were injured before. So no matter what, the babyface comes out on top, even if they lose. Which, like it happens way too much. Like, I don't mind it happening every now and again, but it happens way too much. And not just NXT, but on SmackDown, on Raw. Like, it's, how many times have you seen, oh, the babyface is coming out and they're hurt, but hopefully they'll still win. This was another example of that. It was a good match. Trick Williams was hurt by Obafemi prior to the match, but they did a great job. Like, Wesley and Trick Williams, you can't lose with that match. Like, it was great. Referee lost control at the end of the match, and Trick Williams stomps on Lee's chest. Williams and shoves referee down, which forces a disqualification. So this was part of the issue that I had with this match too. So Wesley has Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe out with him. They are getting involved without actually hitting Trick, but they're getting involved, like, all over the place. And Trick has nobody with him. But in the end, even though they weren't sent away or Wesley wasn't disqualified because officially they didn't hit Trick Williams then tosses the referee because he gets ticked that he's trying to, like, stop him from beating on Wesley, and then Trick Williams gets disqualified. So that was kind of a crappy ending. These two need to go again. It needs to go again. Hopefully at Vengeance Day they'll go again, and it'll be a real match with a real ending. I mean, this was a good match until the ending, and that just stunk. Anyway, Ava then has said she has had it with Oba. This is backstage again. Ava said she's had it with Obafemi trying to overstep her, and he doesn't have the power to make matches. At Vengeance Day, Oba will be putting the NXT Championship on line against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller in a triple threat match. So that will be interesting. I mean, there's no way Obafemi's going to lose this match. He's going to be going into Stand and Deliver with the title. The question is, I guess the only question is, are Theory and Waller going to be on the same page? But they've already teased that they're not doing the split anymore, it seems like. So we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens. It's going to be a good match, but I mean, Obafemi's just going to beat up two guys instead of one. So that's one of the it sounds like the main event or the men's title match will be Obafemi versus A-Town Down Under separately. Then Ava storms into the men's locker room to confront Trick Williams. Trick doesn't believe that Waller or Theory deserve a title shot. Ava then says Trick has the opportunity to prove his point next week when he and Obafemi face A-Town Down Under in a tag team match. That is more interesting to me. That is actually more interesting to me. They have 2 weeks to get things together for the match, the triple threat match. But to me, putting Obafemi and Trick Williams in the same match against A-Town Down Under, that will be interesting. All right, so then the third match we have it's an NXT Women's North American Championship match with Fallon Henley going against Shotzi. And the winner, the person that ends up being the North American champion, will then be going against Stephanie Vaquer at Vengeance Day. This was a pretty good match. Shotzi's crazy. Like, I love Shotzi because she doesn't give a care in the world about anything as far as safety goes. I mean, the way she plays it out. Fallon Henley, like, I don't know. I don't really care for her as North American champion. The last good positive, I guess, memory I have of Fallon Henley was when she was having Tiffany last, like a year ago. I guess it was about a year ago at this point, a little over a year, where she had Tiffany Stratton mucking horse stalls and like high heel boots. Like that to me was good. Fallon Henley. Now I just with her with JC Jane and Jasmine Nix, like the Fatal Influence gals. It's just not. It doesn't do anything for me. I will say having a 3-on-3 with the so now Fallon Henley has her gals, and then Shotzi has her women come out with Gigi and Tatum Paxley, and I love that Tatum Paxley has people now because ever since Lyra Valkyria went to the main roster, she's kind of been alone, but now she's got her people, which I love Tatum Paxley, so I think I say that all the time too, but it doesn't make it untrue. This was a decent match. Like, again, I like Shotzi a lot. I like the fact that she has a I don't care attitude when it comes to the match, as far as putting her body on the line. But ultimately, and of course, we all knew this was going to happen. Henley used a leaping foot stomp and modified exploder suplex. And then she connected with the hoedown, which is basically her jumping up and leg dropping somebody on the mat on the back of their head, sort of, I guess. So, the winner of the match, the winner and still champion, of course, is Fallon Henley. And then at the end of the match, she goes up to the top of the ramp, and Stephanie Vaquer comes out, and they have a bit of a stare down. So, that was pretty interesting. I will say, I forgot to mention this before. So they had and I know TNA does this a lot with their venues because they use the smaller venues as well. They had the ramp come out straight directly to the ring, and it gave, for those of you that are old enough to remember this, it reminded me of the old Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto when they used to, so back to like prime time wrestling, pre-Raw. They used to show matches in different venues, and then the Maple Leaf Gardens they always had the ramp go straight into the ring for some reason. It was the only venue that did that, and I don't know why. But if anybody knows why, please let me know. I thought that was pretty interesting. But anyway, so the ramp going in straight into the ring with there was no space in between the ramp and the ring. It reminded me of that. I don't know why they did that. Maybe just for space purposes. But anyway. Then we have... Sorry, I'm going fast. I don't know why. Carmen Petrovich, she wanted to thank Kalani Jordan for having her back during her match with Jada Parker the last few weeks. Kalani says she wasn't trying to help Carmen. She was trying to get revenge on Jada. And Kalani's new attitude continues to kind of come about. Kalani says sooner or later Ashanti the Adonis will dump her. And Carmen calls Kalani a bitch as she walks away. Sorry, I said the word. If you have kids in the car, I apologize. Sorry, kids. Then Ava Storr informs Sarah Schreiber that at Vengeance Day, Julia will be putting her NXT Women's Championship on the line against Bayley and Roxanne Perez in a triple threat match. Cora Jade was not happy about this at all and walked away, and then Roxanne was like, oh my god, I'm sorry, it's not my fault. It's... I don't know. I guess there may be a falling out there, but we'll have to see what happens. Fourth match we have is Ethan Page versus Cedric Alexander. This is a rematch from a couple weeks ago when Ethan Page slammed Cedric Alexander's hand into the toolbox. And so Cedric Alexander, again, the babyface, is hurt before the match. It's a very common... It's a very common thing that they do. It is what it is. And then eventually when Javon Evans comes back, it's the same thing's going to happen with him against Ethan Page. So Cedric Alexander had like a cast, like a brace cast on his left hand. This was a decent match. Cedric Alexander, let me tell you, so I started watching wrestling again about 2.5 years ago. I didn't even barely knew who Cedric Alexander. I knew he was there, but not really. And now that he's in NXT, I like the way he does things better. He's decent. He's a good wrestler, and I think NXT, it's kind of like Baron Corbin last year when he went to NXT and kind of revitalized his career. Even though now he's not there anymore, it's similar to Cedric Alexander. He's come back and he's kind of revitalized things. I mean, he's not the center of attention, but he's really good. I really like him a lot. But y'all know what I think about Ethan Page, the quintessential heel. He just is so good at what he does, and I am so not surprised that they chose to have the one wrestler when The Rock was at New Year's Evil, that he was the one wrestler to have that interaction besides Ava, to have that interaction with The Rock, because it's just he's so good. He's so good about what he does, and this was a decent match as well. Like I said, I think all the matches here were good in their own right. This wasn't the best match of the night. That was at the end, but it was a decent match. And eventually, of course, Ethan Page, the dastardly heel that he is, starts working on the hand, and Cedric Alexander is crying about the hand hurting, and at the end, Cedric Alexander goes for the neutralizer, but Page counters it with a running boot, connects with the cutter, and he picks up the victory. So he did an RKO cutter, or I guess I would compare it to the Jeff Hardy, the cutter that he does, if that makes sense. I don't remember him using a cutter to win his matches in the past. I don't remember what his finishing move was, but I don't remember it being a cutter. But that's what he used to win. Like I said, the best way to compare it is the Jeff Hardy thing that he does, the finisher. Anyway, and Javon Evans after the match comes out because Ethan Page couldn't help himself and starts beating the crap more out of Cedric Alexander. Javon Evans comes out, still not medically cleared to compete, but decides to come out anyway and basically beat the crap out of Ethan Page and clotheslines Page over the top rope. So, still the winner of the match, Ethan Page. So next week on NXT, Stephanie Vaquer will battle JC Jane of Fatal Influence. There's an NXT Summit with Julia Bailey and Roxanne Perez. They got to build up. I understand. Because right now, Bailey and Julia were just a tag team, and there's really, aside from Bailey staring at the title for 5 seconds, there really isn't any animosity between Bailey and Julia, so they have to kind of build that up, and then Roxanne Perez, obviously she's still doing the things that she's doing, which is great. Next week also we have Ridge Holland against Stax as a result of the interaction I mentioned earlier. And then Kalani Jordan against Carmen Petrovic again for the interaction that I said before. Josh Briggs and Yokishi and Nomura, they had a little vignette. They're talking about getting a tag team title match. I have yet to see them on TV in a match. Maybe once. Why do you deserve a match? Fraxium wasn't even there this week. They weren't even on TV this week. And from what I hear, they had a banger match Thursday against the Rascals, which ended up winning. And also I've been hearing that now the Hardy Boys, who are the tag team champs in TNA, are starting to talk about Fraxium now because they've been on TNA too. So let me tell you, Fraxium against the Hardy Boys, that I actually just posted about it on X. That's going to be an amazing match. Hopefully it's not on TNA. Hopefully it's on NXT. If not, I may have to start watching TNA full time. I don't get that channel. I don't get Access channel, so it's hard to watch it. Okay, sorry for the aside. I apologize. Moving on. The last match we have is Bianca and Naomi against the Metaphor Women for the Tag Team Championship. Listen, this match, I'm happy it was on NXT. It was great on NXT. I'm glad they got the pop that they did. This was a SmackDown or Raw or PLE match. Bianca is Bianca. Like, do we even have to talk about her? And Naomi, former champion. I heard a lot. Jordan Grace did an interview recently, and she talked a lot about, quote, Trinity, which was Naomi's name in TNA before she came back to WWE. They're both great. So much better than Jade Cargill. Let's not even get into that. And the Metaphor girls are like they've already been on Raw. They've already been on SmackDown. Heck, they already were in Saudi Arabia for PLE. They're not NXT anymore. I mean, yeah, they were talking. Well, if they won, then they bring the NXT, or then they bring the WWE tag titles back to NXT. Like, no, like just get them up to the main roster. I'm happy this was a phenomenal match. I'm happy this match was on NXT. Give them a little push. Give NXT a little push, and it's great. But Jakara, like, okay, Lash Legend is amazing. For a woman her size and her strength to do some of the things, they had the whole thing where she did a backflip into a moonsault, like, and I've seen that all over X because it's amazing. I mean, like, Bianca is athletic, but she's tinier. But Lash Legend is a big, like, strong, tall woman that is athletic as you know what. Like, she really needs to, like, even both, like, her and Jakara, like, they're good. They're a good offset of each other. They need to be on the main roster. And obviously Naomi and I thought it was quite interesting actually that we had a lot of main roster people on the episode of NXT this week. Be it Bayley, we had Bianca and Naomi, and I feel like I'm missing someone, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, so this was a great match. Went a couple segments. It was a lot of back and forth, a lot of, like, just, they're all so good. And at the end, Naomi kicks Jackson in the face, standing switch exchange. Belair sends the Legend tumbling to the floor. Belair whips Legend to the steel ring post. Second roll-up exchange. Naomi then tags in Belair. Belair thrust kicks the midsection of Jackson and Belair. And Naomi plant Jackson with the double KOD to pick up the victory. So, I mean, it's not a surprise. I think if the tag team titles are going to change, eventually they're going to change, not on NXT. But all four of these ladies should be on the. They should rerun this match again on the main roster, so that people, because obviously we all know there's a lot of people that watch NXT that don't. There's a lot of people that watch the main roster. A lot of people that don't watch NXT, but they deserve to see that match again. So they should run it back on Raw or SmackDown. Absolutely, 100%. So that was the episode. I said overall, like I said, it was a good episode. It was a really solid episode. I can't wait for Vengeance Day. It's going to be interesting. Next week, from what I can tell, it's just going to be at the Performance Center again, which is fine. February 15th, we're looking at Vengeance Day, and I can't wait. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to let me know. And as always, check out WW Podcast on Apple, on Spotify, and on Patreon. For a mere $5, or I think it's $5, for a mere small fee, you can get all of these shows commercial free, which, let me tell you, the difference between listening to it on Apple with commercials and Patreon or Spotify or Apple without commercials is night and day. Night and day, because you're in the middle of, I could be, or Matt could be in the middle, or Amanda, saying something really interesting, and then all of a sudden you hear a commercial in the middle of it, and you're like, I want to know what he's going to say. Anyway, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.